Introduction. Dear students, we are aware that the change that have happened and is still happening in society. Every day we read in newspapers and watch them on television about the strikes, riots, unemployment, about fights between different organizations, etc. But have we really thought more about them? Are we aware that about the reasons behind these? Why is it very common now? We read and hear about them, but we do not think more about them. These are problems that all societies and countries face. These are because of the disturbances in the way the society works. Definition and meaning of social disorganization. According to Ogben and Nimkoff, when the harmonious relationship between the various parts of culture is disturbed, social disorganization ensues. According to Robert Eliphaz, social disorganization is a disturbance in the patterns and mechanism of human relations. Thus, one can say that social disorganization implies to a breakdown in the relationship, teamwork, or in the interrelationship between people and society. When there is a clash in the interest, attitudes, and values of the individuals, there is bound to have disharmony and disorganization in the society. Let me give you an example, and then we might understand it better. Let's take the case of our body. We know that our body consists of many parts like hand, legs, brain, and heart. It also consists of blood and internal organs. We will compare our body to that of a society with different parts. Our body works without stopping. It is also working when we are asleep, right? But consider the fact when one part of our body stops working, then what happens? Our body starts to show some symptoms and we fall sick or act differently. Or take the example of a factory which makes biscuits. In a factory where there are many machines and many people who work continuously and harmoniously to pack the biscuits. But just imagine if one of the machines stopped functioning due to some complaint or group of workers go on strike. What happens? The factory will not be able to make biscuits. So we can say that there is a disorganizational problem in the factory. In the same manner, our society is made up of certain values, ideas, customs, and traditions. It is also made of association and institutions, which are integrated with each other in such a way that they fulfill their functions and purpose. They work harmoniously together. When they are disturbed by outside or inside force, it starts to fall apart, and we have problems in the society. So, today we will be learning more about this social disorganization and its effect in society. As we explained earlier, if any part of an organization does not work properly, then we can see that it collapses or falls down. So, for the smooth running, we need all the parts of our body to work together. Characteristics. Just as one can diagnose the nature of the disease in humans by its symptoms, similarly social disorganization can be known through its characteristics. We will discuss each one of them briefly. Conflict of mores and of institution. Every society has its own mores or customs and values which are regulated by certain institutions, which regulate the social life of members. These mores, which were made in the past, have become most dated due to modernization. Hence, new ideals, institutions have arisen to meet the new needs of the society. When the past and the present ideals and institutions don't work together, then there will be a clash of ideals, institutions, which will lead to destruction. For example, conflicts are found with regard to joint family, intercaste marriages, dowry system, untouchability, etc. Transfer of functions from one group to another. In every society, one can find that every group has a well-defined function which is predetermined. This group works individually to bring peace and harmony in the society. When these functions change or are handed over to another external group, and then there is a slight confusion, which may be temporary. For example, in India, most of the tradition work was done by the members of the joint family in the past. But in modern times, these works are being done by external groups like day care centers. Previously, all ceremonies and functions were done in the family, but now it has been given to organizations and agencies who conduct them. Inconsistency between status and rule. In an organized society, the status and role of each member is well defined to avoid any sort of conflict. The changing social values and conditions have given rise to some conflict between statuses and roles of the individuals. This has led to uncertainty in the roles of the individuals. Example, in the olden times, the role of woman was to be at home and take care of her family and the house. She was not expected to work outside and earn. In modern society, women have started working out, earning, and also taking care of a family and house. Due to this, the women of today are under stress, and sometimes their failure to perform all work leads to frustration, insecurity, personal dissatisfaction. Individualism. In olden times, people used to think of others' welfare and wishes more than their own. They used to give more importance to others. In modern society, where no one has the time to think of others, has led to individualism or thinking of oneself. He gives more importance to his own pleasure, wishes, and expectations. He expects others to abide by his wishes and change, and fails to think in terms of wishes of the group or organization of which he is a member. Inconsistency between expectation and achievements. In a disorganized society, one can find that there is a big gap between the expectation the society has on a role and the extent to which an individual goes to achieve them. The drastic step can be antisocial in nature. Example, strikes in colleges by students who are protesting against them and resort to violence to meet their ends. Finally, it can be said that in a social disorganization, these conditions may be present individually or as collectively. Factors of social disorganization. We saw the characteristics of social disorganization, and we also know that these happen because of some reason. Hence, we will see some of the reasons that can help in bringing disorganization in society leading to social problems. Psychological factor. The psychology of man can sometimes be a cause for social disorganization. We know that man is a social animal and hence needs to communicate his needs and feelings with others. So communication is an essential psychological process. It is maintained through social processes such as imitation, competition, conflict, assimilation, communication. Communication helps man to understand and get a feeling of unity. Due to the lack of communication between people, mistrust and unhappiness comes in, which indirectly affect the society. Another problem is that of the attitude of people towards many traditional ideas and culture. The traditional human tendencies are changing slowly, whereas the culture is rapidly changing. This gap in accepting the change also results in problems. In modern times, we hear it as generation gap between elders and the youth. Cultural lag. Cultural lag refers to the imbalance in the rate and speed of change between the material culture and immaterial culture. We can see that material culture like mode of housing, transportation, type of dresses, instruments, etc. change very quickly, but the non-material culture like ideas, culture, habits, institutional structures, etc. change very slowly. This lag or gap between these two cultures is called cultural gap. Example, by the influence of Western countries, a number of Indians have adopted a Western culture like the way of dressing, talking, ideas, but their tradition ideas, beliefs, customs are so ingrained in them that it has been difficult for them to change them. Hence, there is a conflict between Western and Indian culture. Physical and geographic factors. Natural calamities such as cyclones, earthquakes, famines, flood, etc. upset the balance between man and society, which again lead to social disorganization and problem. In such a place, some people all lose their homes, their occupation, and as such are in a state of confusion. This state of confusion makes them think irrationally, leads them to wrong things to sustain their life. Ecological factors. Disorganization related to one's environment or neighborhood is another factor. One can see that most of the wrong people in the society concentrate in areas of poor housing, overpopulated, gambling places, hotels, etc. Social problems. Social problems like class struggle, war between countries, political corruption, unemployment also threatens to stop the smooth functioning of the society. These social problems indirectly affect the organization of the society in bringing about disorganization. Degeneration of values. We know that a society runs smoothly if their values are intact. If these values lose their meaning and new values emerge, then people find it difficult to adjust to the new ones and also cannot reject their old values. This clash between the old and new result in social problems. Biological factor. Overpopulation or underpopulation, racial intermix, hereditary traits also contribute to the disorganization and later on to social problem. Example, places where there is overpopulation, there is a high risk of unemployment, and in underpopulated places, one can see the fear of the race being extinct. Political subordination. Political supremacy of one country upon another can also lead to problems. The dominant country will not allow the other countries to become economically stable. They would always want the other country to serve them. India under the British rule is a very good example of this. Conflict of goals and means. Most of us have some expectation and goals in our life. We try to reach and get those goals in legitimate way or by using the correct path. But for some, getting the goal is difficult through the correct path and they will use wrong path to achieve them. This conflict between the goals and the methods used to achieve these leads to social disorganization. Decline of social control. We know that all societies in the world have some rules and regulations for its members which they need to follow. When these rules and regulations become weak, there is no control of the members by the society. Hence, we can see an increase in crimes, tension, divorce, many psychological problems in men. Social problems. A social problem is an issue that relates to society's idea of people's personal lives. Different societies have different ideas. What may be normal behavior in one society may be a significant social problem in another society. Every country in the world has some form of social problem which has come because of the social disorganization. Someone can say that a disorganized society will have more social problems to deal with. These social problems keep changing. Some old problems become a big issue globally and sometimes new ones come up with needs to be dealt with. As society is changing drastically, one can see the increase of problems too. Some of the problems we will learn in brief. In the later chapters, we will learn in detail about them. Types of social problems. Poverty. Poverty is one of the most widespread socio-economic problems of India. It is also a common problem faced with most of the underdeveloped countries. Poverty is a state where one is deprived of food, shelter, clothing, health care and education because of lack of money. This is a serious problem that is prevalent not only in India but also in other countries. This brings about inequality in all spheres of life for the poor people. They are considered low in the class ladder. It is closely related to unemployment, where people do not have work. then they cannot earn and hence cannot provide the basic needs of their family. Another reason could be because of failure in life. Due to physical and mental handicap, they are considered unfit and hence they are in constant poverty. Inequality of caste. In India, caste system is very prominent. It is a major social inequality. Caste may be dependent on one's occupation or based on origin or by birth. There are often a number of restrictions assigned to people of lower castes, such as restrictions on sharing food and drink with members of other castes, restrictions on going to certain places, the enforcement of marrying within one's caste. The way they dress and what they eat are all prescribed by the caste to which one belongs. There is no upward movement in caste system. These restrictions are enforced through physical violence or by exploiting the lower caste group. Lower castes are more likely to live in slums and low status jobs and income. These people have been exploited so much by the higher caste people that they have started to protest against them. Inequality of gender. One of the major forms of social inequality comes in the form of gender. The emphasis on gender inequality is born out of the deepening division in the roles and duties assigned to men and women, particularly in the economic and political and educational spheres. Inequality of gender refers to inequality of women. Women's participation in work has been increasing globally, but women are faced with wage differences compared to what men earn. They are considered inferior to men in all aspects. This is because of the importance given to boys over girls in traditional families and societies in India. Disharmony. Disharmony refers to conflicts, fights in society. When the peace of the society is disturbed because of many factors, we say that society is in disharmony. There will be chaos and confusion in the minds of people. Disharmony can come from fights between different religions, communities. Juvenile delinquency. This is one of the serious problems that the whole world is facing. It is because of rapid growth of cities that the structure of the family has changed and affected. This rapid change has affected the children a lot. Children below the age of 18 are considered as juveniles. We always read about small children running away from homes without permission, or children caught stealing or shoplifting. These children are so vulnerable that they get into wrong adult companies and start doing wrong things. They have no knowledge of right and wrong at that time. These tendencies of going against the society rules are called delinquency. Hence, a minor with these tendencies are called juvenile delinquency. Juvenile delinquency. The effect of disorder in late adolescence or early adulthood may seriously impede and disrupt a young person's growth and development and erode quality of life. It can affect a young person's confidence, create unwanted dependence on families, strain social and family relationships, seriously disrupt education and career paths, and hinder social development. At a time of life when these are crucially important, the effect may be lifelong, and the cost financial, social and health-wise of failing to provide effective early intervention, treatment and secondary prevention are significant. Depression is so common these days that it has been referred to as a common cold or mental illness. But unlike common cold, depression is fatal and is considered a major social problem. Probable measures. We have just now learned about social disorganization leading to some problems. At this time, let's wonder some of the measures that we can think of to eradicate or lessen the extent of these social problems. Some of the measures could be as follows. Efficient administration to fight against these disruptive forces. Proper understanding of these problems and planning it accordingly to get to the root cause. Appropriate steps to rehabilitate juvenile delinquency, beggars, aged and physically disabled people, and instill in them the feeling that after this can work properly and earn enough for their family. One can take steps to create awareness against evil practices, corruption, etc. Instilling a feeling of solidarity, unity, nationalism, among the citizens. These days, one can hear of such a type of campaigns. Create an atmosphere of security and confidence, injustice in people. Giving ample educational, occupational opportunities. Having attractive family planning and educating the illiterate people about the problems that would arise with more children. Evaluation of the social problems. We know that in every society, one can find some type of social problem. Social problem is not fixed to one region or place or country. It is a worldwide problem. These problems that we learnt in brief are some of the problems we face in India. We all know that India is a developing country and hence we will have more problems. These problems are because of men's outlook on society, traditions and customs, which are very strong psychological problems of men, economical and social forces. We also know that even though measures are being taken to control these social problems, the outcome is very slow. It could be because it is impossible to touch the root cause and it is all interconnected to each other. It can be done only all mankind globally work together consciously towards changing one's perception and eradicating them. This is a very tedious job. As a conclusion, it can only be said that it is very difficult to eradicate these social problems completely from the society, but it can be controlled to some extent.